You're watching a congressman accuse the Attorney General of lying under oath about whether evidence exists that Donald Trump committed a crime. This isn't political theater. It's a member of Congress standing on the House floor, holding FBI documents, and reading verbatim testimony from a victim who says Trump sexually assaulted her when she was between 13 and 15 years old. Representative Raskin just did something that rarely happens. He took classified investigative materials that DOJ tried to hide, that pressure from media and Congress forced them to release, and he read the victim's account into the congressional record. She told the FBI that Trump said, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be," before assaulting her. She bit him. He struck her and said, "Get this little bitch the hell out of here." The FBI found her credible enough to include her testimony in a 21-page PowerPoint presentation to prosecutors. Then Raskin revealed the cover-up layers. Documents redacted from the public were unredacted to Congress. They showed Trump called Epstein a terrific guy who likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. They show Epstein telling Maxwell, "The dog that hasn't barked is Trump, because a victim spent hours at my house with him, and Trump was never mentioned." They show flight logs putting Trump on Epstein's plane 8 times. What you're about to hear is how a DOJ under presidential control can bury evidence in plain sight, and why the Attorney General's sworn testimony that there is no evidence is either perjury or proof she never read the files she's supposed to enforce.
Today to discuss this administration's massive cover-up of the Epstein files in order to conceal President Trump's involvement. This cover-up reached its apex last month when Attorney General Bondi falsely testified under oath before the House Judiciary Committee. The Attorney General testified, quote, "There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that," unquote. This is a lie. In the 3 million or so documents that the DOJ has disclosed to Congress under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, there is credible evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime. And that, of course, excludes the nearly 3 million pages that the DOJ is refusing to turn over. Donald Trump is mentioned thousands of times in the Epstein files. There are multiple allegations that he sexually assaulted young girls. But I want to focus on one victim's allegations that the FBI unquestionably found to be credible. The DOJ tried to hide reports of 3 of the 4 interviews that this victim gave to the FBI, but pressure from the media and Congress forced them to disclose them. And now we know why. She credibly accuses Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was between 13 and 15. In each of her interviews, this victim recited the same account of her interaction with Donald Trump. On August 7th, 2019, she explained that she was between 13 and 15 when she was left alone with Donald Trump, who, quote, mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Trump unzipped his pants and put her head down, quote, down to his penis, bit the S out of it. Trump struck the victim and said words to the effect of, "Get this little B the hell out of here." The victim advised that she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. She provided some additional details in the next interview 2 weeks later, and then a month later, she met again with the FBI and asked, quote, what the point would be of providing the information at this point in her life when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it. She didn't speak to the FBI again. But the FBI certainly found her story credible. In a 21-page PowerPoint presentation that the FBI made to prosecutors, they included this victim's testimony. They would not have done so if they did not find the evidence credible, which means that Attorney General Bondi lied when she stated under oath that there is no evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime. But we're just scratching the surface, because the Epstein files also reveal that Donald Trump has made false statements over the past quarter century about Jeffrey Epstein. We know in 2002 he called him a terrific guy and said, quote, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." In a birthday card 2003 that Donald Trump gave to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday, Donald wrote for himself that we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Enigmas never aged. Have you noticed that? A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. But in that same year, Palm Beach County opened an investigation into Epstein that eventually was turned over to the FBI. The investigation became public in 2006, and the Palm Beach County police chief received a call quickly after from Donald Trump, where Trump told him, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." What innocent person calls the police chief about an investigation upon just learning about it? The recent documents also show that Jeffrey Epstein emailed Ghislaine Maxwell and said, quote, "I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." Trump also denied that he ever went on Epstein's plane. But of course, the Southern District of New York said that he was on his plane 8 times, often with young women. The reason why this matters is because we don't have half of the Epstein files. And if the Attorney General is covering this up in such a degree that she is redacting things from Congress, that she then, redacting things from the public that she then shows to Congress, what else is she covering up? And I would just show that this document here was redacted to the public, it was unredacted to Congress, and it completely disputes everything that Donald Trump has said about Jeffrey Epstein, about what he knew about the allegations, about his disgusting behavior, about whether he'd ever been to Epstein's house, saying, "I may have been there with my wife." Asked if any young girls were there. No. He may have had children of guests, but that's it. Well, we know that's not the case. Now, why is this important? Because if the Attorney General is covering up this information that she then reveals to Congress, what else is she covering up about Donald Trump's involvement in the Epstein files? I yield back.
What Representative Raskin did on that House floor wasn't just political accusation. It was the methodical presentation of evidence showing how institutional authority can be used to bury credible allegations, and why the gap between what DOJ knows and what the Attorney General says under oath matters for the rule of law. If you understand the layers of this cover-up and what each document reveals, you'll see how power protects itself through selective disclosure. Start with the core claim. Attorney General Pam Bondi testified under oath that there is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. Raskin calls this a lie, and then he proves it by reading directly from FBI interview reports. A victim told agents that between ages 13 and 15, Trump assaulted her. She gave consistent accounts across 3 separate FBI interviews in 2019. The details are specific. Trump said, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Assaulted her, she bit him in self-defense, he struck her, and had her removed. This isn't hearsay. It's sworn testimony to federal investigators. The FBI's response tells you how seriously they took it. They included her account in a 21-page PowerPoint presentation made to prosecutors. Law enforcement doesn't put allegations in prosecutorial briefings unless they find them credible. So when Bondi says there's no evidence, she's either lying about what's in the files or defining evidence in a way that excludes victim testimony the FBI itself found credible. Either way, her statement under oath is false. Then there's the disclosure pattern. DOJ initially tried to hide 3 of the 4 interview reports with this victim. Only pressure from media and Congress forced their release. That's not transparency. That's damage control. And it raises the question Raskin asks. If they're hiding credible victim testimony that they eventually had to disclose, what else are they concealing in the nearly 3 million pages they're still refusing to turn over? Now layer in the contradiction evidence. Trump publicly called Epstein a terrific guy in 2002 and said, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." In a 2003 birthday card, Trump wrote to Epstein about certain things in common and referenced another wonderful secret. But when Palm Beach police opened their investigation in 2006, Trump called the police chief to say, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this." That's not the reaction of someone who just learned about allegations. That's the reaction of someone managing his public distance from a situation he knew about all along. The Epstein-Maxwell email is damning for what it reveals about Trump's strategic silence. Epstein wrote that, "The dog that hasn't barked is Trump, because a victim spent hours at my house with him, and Trump was never mentioned." That's not exoneration. That's coordination. It suggests Trump stayed quiet about what he witnessed in exchange for not being implicated. And when you combine that with flight logs showing Trump on Epstein's plane 8 times, often with young women, despite Trump's denials, you have a pattern of lying about the extent of his involvement. The redaction strategy shows how institutional control enables cover-up. Documents were heavily redacted when released to the public, less redacted when shown to Congress. The version Congress saw completely contradicts Trump's public statements about not knowing Epstein well, not being at his properties, not knowing about allegations. So DOJ has evidence that disproves the president's statements, but they're selectively redacting it based on audience. That's not classification, that's political protection. What's the systemic consequence? When an attorney general can testify under oath that no evidence exists while FBI files contain credible victim testimony, you've broken the connection between law enforcement and truth-telling. When DOJ can hide documents from Congress, release them under pressure, but still withhold millions of pages, you've made oversight a negotiation rather than a constitutional function. And when the same department that's supposed to prosecute crimes is controlled by the person accused in those crimes, you don't have independent justice. You have self-protection with institutional resources. If any of this concerns you, demand full disclosure of the Epstein files without redactions protecting political figures. Support legislative mechanisms that prevent DOJ from withholding evidence from congressional oversight, and recognize that when an attorney general's sworn testimony contradicts FBI investigative materials, the issue isn't partisan disagreement. It's whether law enforcement serves truth or power. Because credible allegations buried in classified files that surface only under pressure aren't evidence of innocence. They're evidence of a system designed to protect those who control it.